Like many pre-pube boys who grew up in the 2010s, I was a huge fan of Achievement Hunter and subsequently the act of achievement hunting. And seeing as my community here on the tube rides almost exclusively on the shoulders of From Software, I figured, what the hell? Let's get all the achievements in Dark Souls. Hello everyone, this is Aqua, Sloth, and well, that first sentence pretty much sums up what we're doing in this video. Today, I wanted to revisit Dark Souls 1 and see what it takes to get all 41 achievements in the game. Now, you may be asking yourself, three questions at this point. The first being, does this challenge suck? To which I would have to answer candidly, yes. Yes, it does. You may then follow up that question with, well, yeah, but it's fulfilling, right? No. In fact, I feel worse now that I finished it than I did before I started the run, but we'll get into that towards the end of the video. And finally, why the hell did you pick Prepare to Die Edition over Remastered? And I actually have a great answer for that. The reason being is that I already 100% Remastered a couple years ago, and well, that's pretty much it. But since then, Prepare to Die Edition has just been sitting in my library taunting me with that damn 88% completed progress bar, so I figured today's the day I want to sit down and finish off one of my favorite games of all time once and for all. So, let's take a look at what you gotta do. For anyone that's played Dark Souls 1 and even glanced at the achievements for it, you're probably aware of what the majority of them are and how to unlock them. For the uninitiated though, we've got things like light the first bonfire, get the Estus flask, ring both the bells of awakening, make it to Honor Londo, pretty much just play the game and unlock both endings. Other than those, we've got beat all the main bosses and join all of the covenants, which aside from some harder to reach ones is also pretty straightforward, all things considered. But of the 41 total achievements, there are 14 that I think personally require a bit more work, and you probably won't just stumble upon and unlock by accident. For the first 10 of the 14, we have the blank weapon achievements, which requires us to upgrade a weapon of each type to its maximum level of either +5 for raw, occult, chaos, enchanted, lightning, and crystal, +10 for divine, fire, and magic weapons, and +15 for our standard weapons. The standard weapon upgrade path to me is the easiest to understand and the one that I do kind of without even thinking about it, since it just requires us to have 9 Titanite shards to get to +5, the large ember from the depths, and 10 large Titanite shards to get to +10, including the one required to ascend the +5 weapon, the very large ember from New Londo, and 8 Titanite chunks to get to +14, plus 1 Titanite slab to max it out at level 15. I know I made that sound like way more complicated than it actually is with my poor explanation skills, but you'll more than likely stumble upon the required items in any normal playthrough, save for like the slab maybe, which can be acquired every new game cycle by either doing Secret's questline or killing the stray demon in your revisit to the Undead Asylum. If you missed out on those two opportunities, you can also always farm the Dark Wraiths in New Londo, but well, good luck with that. For the raw weapon achievement, we need the previously mentioned 9 shards and 1 large shard to ascend to a raw +0, plus another 9 large shards to max it out at +5. Fun fact, this is the only upgrade path in the game that does not require a Titanite slab, so do with that information what you will. To upgrade our divine, fire, and magic weapons, we need to first give each ember to their respective blacksmiths, along with 10 green Titanite shards, coming out to 30 shards total, which can be farmed from the giant leeches in Blighttown. We then need a total of 8 white chunks to upgrade our divine weapon at Andre, 8 red chunks to upgrade our fire weapon at Vamos, and 8 blue chunks to upgrade our magic weapon at Rickard. On top of those 24 different chunks, we also need a red, blue, and white Titanite slab to upgrade each weapon to the maximum level. The 3 chunks of color can easily be farmed from the Black Knights in the Kiln of the First Flame right before Gwyn's Boss Fog, but the slabs can be a little trickier to find. 1 white slab can be found in the room right before Nito's Boss Fog where the Pinwheel Servants are, and they're also rarely dropped by those Pinwheel Servants. 1 red slab can be found in the sewers of Lost Izalith or farmed from the Chaos Eaters, and 1 blue slab can be found in the Crystal Cave near the Crystal Lizards or farmed from the Crystal Butterflies. There are a few items that we can pick up in a normal playthrough that come pre-ascended, like the Occult Club and Crystal Halberd in Anor Londo, or the Lightning Spear in Sin's Fortress, which saves us a little bit on time and resources, but getting those to max level is still going to require a bit of patience. For the occult weapon achievement, we can use the aforementioned club, or actually piggyback off of our divine weapon by ascending it again to an occult +0 using the dark ember from the Painted World, then using another 8 white chunks and 1 white slab to upgrade it to max, popping the achievement. The axe-wielding knight before Gwyn's Boss Fog is guaranteed to drop a white Titanite chunk, so if worst comes to worst, you can just farm him 10 times. And the white slab can once again be farmed from the pinwheels right before Nito's Boss Fog, but if you're not the green thumb type, you can also just wait for another new game cycle, since we're gonna have to go there anyway. Chaos is another one that we can kind of piggyback off of our previously upgraded fire weapon and ascend it from a +5 fire to a +0 chaos, using the chaos ember from the lava pits in Demon Ruins, then using an additional 7 red chunks and 1 red slab to max it out at +5. Again, you can farm these from the Chaos Eaters in Lost Izalith, or just wait for the New Game Plus cycle to grab it from the chest, also in Lost Izalith. The Enchanted Weapon path is kind of similar to the previous two we mentioned, with it being a sort of more powerful magic upgrade, so we can once again ascend our +5 magic to a +0 enchanted with 1 blue chunk, or you can use the enchanted falchion found from the Mimic in Duke's Archive. Either way, just head on down to Rickert with either 7 or 8 chunks depending on what you chose, and upgrade that bad boy to +5. And for the third time, these can either be farmed from the Crystal Butterflies in Crystal Cave, or just looted from the cave on New Game Plus. Crystal and Lightning actually don't require any special chunks or slabs, so assuming you still have your +15 standard weapon, you can actually unascend that to a +10, then reascend it to a +0 Lightning or Crystal weapon at the Giant Blacksmith in Anor Londo. You can also upgrade the Crystal Halberd from the Mimic in Anor Londo if you have that, but I also think that requires the Crystal Ember still, so if that's easier, I guess that's up to you. Lightning weapons actually do not require any special ember to upgrade at the Giant Blacksmith, which I did not realize until sitting down to write the script for this video. Goddamn, I love this game. You truly can never know it all when it comes to Dark Souls. Both of these paths require 8 chunks and 1 slab, so if it were me, which it was, I would just wait for the New Game cycle to once again collect them from Siegmeyer and the Stray Demon. And once you finish off those, that's it, man. You're done with the weapon upgrades. Congrats! Now the real fun begins. The most infamous achievements in Dark Souls and Dark Souls Remastered are far and away the Wisdom of a Sage, Prayer of a Maiden, Bond of a Pyromancer, and Knight's Honor. Each of these requires a stupid amount of work to achieve and very specific steps that need to be taken in order to achieve them all. Wisdom of a Sage is admittedly the most tame of them all, with only really requiring you to buy all the spells from Griggs, Dusk of Ulasil, I think Resist Curse from Ingward, and do Logan's questline for White Dragon Breath, and the remaining 4 spells can just be looted from around the world. Now the real bullshit starts with the Covenant items and rewards. Bond of a Pyromancer is the least egregious in my opinion, only requiring that you give 30 humanity to the Fair Lady for Chaos Storm and Great Chaos Fireball, which I normally do in any regular playthrough just to get the Lost Izalith shortcut. There are 5 lootable Pyromancers throughout the game, 2 in Blighttown, 2 in the Painted World, and 1 before the Bed of Chaos, and the rest can be easily purchased from Laurentius, Quelana, and Ingi. The only other pyromancy that requires even a little thought is Fire Tempest, which just requires you return to Quelana after killing the Bed of Chaos, or you can just kill Quelana before doing anything if that's more your speed. Prayer of a Maiden has your typical buy all the spells from the Faith Vendors, which does require us to progress Rhea of Thorlin's questline and Siegmeyer's questline for Emit Force, and drop 40 big ones on Karmic Justice from Oswald of Karim, but then requires us to farm not 1, not 2, but 3 different Covenant items, all for 1 achievement. We get the Gravelord Sword Dance miracle from joining up with the Gravelord servants at Nito's tomb in the Tomb of the Giants, but then need to farm for an additional 7 Eyes of Death from the Basilisks in the Depths, since 3 Eyes of Death can be found right after the coffin that takes us to Nito's boss room. Simple enough, 6% drop rate. Could be worse. Turning those 10 Eyes of Death into our Bone Daddy awards us with the Gravelord Great Sword Dance, which is similar to the Gravelord Sword Dance, but just greater. The Darkmoon Blade Miracle requires us to farm another 10 items, these being the Souvenirs of Reprisal from the Crow Demons in the Painted World, which is A, so fucking annoying it hurts, and B, also a 6% drop rate, which it does not feel like. We can increase these odds using the Symbol of Avarice and the Gold Serpent Ring, but even still, it takes a fucking eternity, and I am so thankful I never have to do it again. And finally, the Lightning Spear and Great Sunlight Spear Miracles requires us to join up with the Warriors of Sunlight, which itself requires us to have 25 levels in Faith, which if we're not doing a Faith build, is kind of a tall ask, especially late game. 25 levels ain't no joke. Also, before anyone busts my balls about it, I know you can lower the requirement by doing online co-op and shit. I also have access to the wiki, okay? It's 2025, I'm playing offline. After hitting level 25 and joining up with the Sun Bros, we then need to head to the hopefully already opened Lost Izalith shortcut and farm the Sunlight Slipknot fans for their Sunlight medals, which have the lowest drop rate of the Covenant items, sitting at a cool 3% drop rate, and by God, does it feel like 3%. If for some reason you have not unlocked the shortcut, may God have mercy on you. The final miracle needed for the Prayer of the Maiden achievement is the Sunlight Spear, which we can only acquire in New Game Plus after taking Lord Gwyn's Lord Soul to the Sunlight Altar and exchanging it for the miracle, thus popping the achievement. And so, it all comes to this. Other than the Get All the Achievements achievement, we only have one left, which is by far the most time-consuming and infuriating of the bunch, Knight's Honor. Knight's Honor requires us to collect every rare armament into the game, which ranges from the 6 tail cuts from Priscilla, the gargoyles, Seath, the stone, gaping, and hellkite dragons, to every boss weapon, some of which requires us to go into New Game Plus. Other than those, we need to get the Gravelord sword from the Gravelord Servant Covenant, which we should already have, as well as the Dark Hand, which is gifted from Koth after joining up with the Dark Wraith Covenant, or alternatively, farm from the Dark Wraiths in New Londo at a shoo. Yeah, never mind, just join up with the Dark Wraith. Swallow your pride. Take it from me. Don't farm for the Dark Hand. But what if I told you that those weapons I just mentioned, those were the easy ones. Deep in the bowels of hell, past Hulk Hogan and the guy that invented Moto denim jeans, there lives a group so immoral, so feared by Dark Souls players around the world that no one dare speak their name. The enemy drop weapons. Now, some of these are as easy as go here, kill this guy, guaranteed drop, we're on to the next one. But others, not so simple. There are 18 drop weapons in total, 3 of which can be purchased from vendors and 5 are guaranteed drops from NPCs, leaving 10 to a random game of chance from very specific enemies around the world of Lordran. The Black Knight weapons are the easiest to get in my opinion, especially since you'll more than likely be required to farm them for the chunks, as previously mentioned, and each of their weapons has a fat 20% drop rate, save for the shield, which only has a 5% drop rate from the knights that carry one. The Stone Giant sword can be purchased from Shiva, but for whatever reason, the shield has to be looted from the Stone Giants, and sadly only has a 2% drop rate, making it the next to worst to farm for. The Silver Knight weapons are really where the hairlines start to recede, requiring us to get the Straight Sword and Spear at a whopping 2% drop rate, as well as the Silver Knight shield at a piss-poor 1% drop rate without using performance-enhancing drugs. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, ladies and germs, allow me to introduce you to the channelers of the Duke's Archive. These Iron Pineapple looking bastards have a 1% drop rate to drop the Channeler's Trident, mathematically speaking, meaning 1 out of every 100 you kill will drop it. There is no easy way to do this. You have to just bite the sheets and spread them. It's gonna take some time. On behalf of all Dark Souls players everywhere, fuck you, Channelers. But once you're done with that, you are done altogether, if you've been following along with my guide. What, was this not like detailed enough for you? I didn't say how to 100% it, I just said I did it, so you don't have to. Tough titty, man. You know what, as a consolation prize, I will share with you a resource that was shared with me by Googling it once and then finding the Reddit link to this beautiful spreadsheet document that Greater Tyler on Reddit put together that details every single item and spell, where to find them, the prices for each, the whole shebang. It fucking rips, and I probably would not have attempted this challenge without it, so would recommend. Link to that is below. Now, I kind of wanted to expand on my previously mentioned idea of why I hated doing this. Not the video of the 100%ing of Dark Souls. As someone who's been playing this game for over a decade of my life, it feels very melancholic to finally stamp an ending on this once-in-a-lifetime experience of a game. There is a reason Dark Souls fans are so annoying, first and foremost, but also so fucking passionate about this game. There are dozens and dozens of Dark Souls Saved Me videos on YouTube, and for every shitty one that Joe Schmo69 puts out, there is an hour-long retrospective insight video talking about what people love about it, the psychology of Dark Souls, how the difficulty literally changed the gaming landscape for years to come. And it's these passionate players talking about how wading through the shit-covered streets of Blighttown made them realize that life is worth living. I'm certainly not the first, and I know damn well I won't be the last, but Dark Souls 1 is a masterpiece in every sense of the word, and I am so thankful to be alive at the same time as Miyazaki and the team at FromSoft, and for them to bestow upon us the absolute treats that are the Soulsborne games. I know Steam achievements, and really achievements in general for that matter, don't really mean anything in the long run, but they certainly, at least to me, feel like a sort of finish line, so to speak. To me, unlocking the Dark Soul achievement is kind of the last thing to do in the game. Sure, I can go do a Soul Level 1 run or try to no-hit each boss in the game, but like, what's the end goal there? Other than it's just community challenges. They're fun and it's neat to see, but like, there's not really any point to it, you know? Popping that final achievement feels like the genuine end to the game. I've seen and done everything the developers had for me, and at the end of it, there's nothing to do but sit back and reflect on the endeavor. So while I am very proud to say that I've 100% of the Dark Souls, not once, but 2 times over, I can't help but feel like kind of empty inside. It feels like saying goodbye to a childhood friend as you move in separate directions in life, and while they'll always be there if you need them and you can reach out to them anytime, when you do finally get together again, it doesn't feel the same. Knowing that there are no more achievements, no more challenges to conquer or adventures to be had, it just leaves me with, I don't know, feeling like there's kind of just an empty place in my heart. A place that I look back on with almost a sense of embarrassment with how many times I died to the Taurus Demon and Capra Demon and the fucking Gaping Dragon. Bosses that I can do now without even thinking about it, that ended runs of my old characters on my Xbox 360. I remember vividly not being able to get past Taurus Demon, the first boss in the game. The amount of characters that I just left standing eternally at attention right before Ornstein and Smo's Fog Wall because I had no idea how to build a properly leveled character and I just physically could not do it is astounding. I would just ride the Drake Sword all the way to Honorlando and then have no idea how to do anything else. So leaving behind a world that I've spent a third of my life exploring only to have one digital badge that means nothing to anyone other than the people that have done it as well. But in a way, unlocking the Dark Soul achievement almost reflects the story of Dark Souls in its entirety. You enter the world not knowing anything about the hellish nightmare that awaits you in this foreign, crazy fantasy world, but as you play, you learn to conquer it and overcome every single challenge that stands in your way. You suffer through the depths, you wade through the poison swamp of Blighttown, ascend to the peaks of Sin's Fortress, unmask the greatest illusion of Honorlando, slay 4 of the most powerful beings the world has ever known, and then you have a choice. Continue living in a fleeting, dying age of fire, cursed to repeat cycle after cycle after cycle, until finally someone breaks that cycle. The fire fades and only dark remains, ushering in a whole new age that the world has never seen before. One of darkness and cold and unknowing. Not so different from the world that we stepped foot into after leaving the Undead Asylum. But to progress is to change. So while I certainly could have just kept playing new character after new character, in a way, I was linking the fire whether I physically was or not. And by completing the game, getting that final achievement, and closing shut the best story I have ever experienced, I chose to let that fire fade. Because if I hadn't, the cycle would continue, new undead after undead after undead, until finally, one of them chose to let it fade. Thank you everyone for watching. I've been Aqua Sloth, you've been great, and I love Dark Souls.